experience the products and now not only help yourself, but your mother. I mean, I know that that's kind of where it really gets into our hearts, is when it not only helps us, but someone that we really care about. And that just can make, all the difference. And then it's like trying to stop me from talking about it now. Which again is a beautiful story. And I love hearing those kinds of stories, because they do make a difference, not just for us individually, but for those who are listening in today and trying to decide, is this I can do? And hopefully by the time everyone is done with this webinar today, they have a little bit more belief in that they can actually do this. And this is something that really is, that will be quite powerful, And so one of the things that, we're going to be, the main message for today is kind of use your vision, your volume, your victory to unlocking the potential in your team. And I think that that's really, helping to do that as you're building an organization. And Kerri, I think as when we were looking through some of the numbers out there, you and your team is definitely one of the best, not just in bringing, but helping lift them to become new ranks in the organization and building that leadership. And so we thought you'd be the perfect one to talk about how do we drill down into these teams and try to find those people who are kind of that, I like sleeping giants for lack of a better term. So how do you find those and identify giants in your downline? Those people who may be inactive but might have that huge potential that that once they realize what we have is they'll just run with it.
Yes, well, I've always said that, the questions you ask people always determines the answers you receive, right? And so, I'm one of those that look at a name on a paper or a number and make a decision, but I'm one about picking up the phone, introducing myself, asking questions, finding out what a person's purpose is, because truth be told, if somebody doesn't have a reason to be here, well, nobody's our boss, right? And so we can't make a person show up. And so whenever what they would want, or maybe what the dreams are in their heart, well, now we can talk to that. And so there's a lot of leaders in our organization that, life happens to everyone. And so maybe things happened or maybe they came here, got great results, but just didn't see the potential, but I could see it in them. And so speak to the champion inside of people, number one, because I think the biggest thing about when you identify people and you speak to the person inside of them is that they want to become that person, right? And if they see the vehicle to be able to get to from A to Z, from whatever it is where they're at to whatever well, if you can position it like that, and you can say, hey, I'm here to help you, and I know the potential you have. And so I'm always wanting to speak to the champion inside. And I can think of several different leaders in our organization that, were using the technology. They were wearing X39. They were having incredible results, both the husband, the wife, but just had, for whatever reason, their own mental blocks, right? When it came to building a business. But I knew who they were. I knew the heart inside of them. And so, I finally had a great conversation and just said, if you come to this event and you do not see what I'm telling you is possible, have this conversation again. And my friend came to that event and, 4 months later was an SPD, right? And that's the truth, right? Because whenever you talk to someone, but I tell people, you've got to often be able to remind them, right? Because they're in an environment, most often, they work a full-time job, they've got all these things, and if you're not speaking to that person and speaking to their dreams, well, they're getting beat up at work. They're getting, they're not being thanked. They're not being loved on. They're not being all those. And so they come to a community like LifeWave a lot of times to be around positive people, to be in a place where they're celebrated, where they're lifted up. And so we just, as we're building this, we've always said it's more of a volunteer army, because nobody's got a boss. We don't make people show up, but we've got to love them, encourage them, and speak to their hopes and dreams and be there to support them. That's the other big thing too, is it's one thing to tell a person you're going to help them do something. It's another to show up and lock arms. And so that's always what I always say, just look for them. But that comes from having real conversations, asking questions, and getting to know people above all else.
Yeah, and I think I love that idea of speaking to what's gonna drive them and get them going, and the only way you'll ever the right questions and getting to know who they are and what their dreams and their visions are. So I love as you shared that. I'm just going, that is exactly right. So but sometimes we have team members that maybe they were doing well for a while, but maybe they lost a little momentum and things have dropped off a little bit. What are some worked to maybe re-engage some of these team members who maybe lost some of that momentum, and then actually seen it pay off?
Well, once again, you got to sometimes remind them of what it is that they told you they wanted, right? Because life happens to everyone. I say that a lot, like nobody gets a hall pass. And, I think about a great example of this because listen, a week on these patches, she came out of the gate. She came in our front door and said, I'm getting the biggest order. I mean, it was all of me saying, you will wear these. I become the mother a week earlier. So I'm like, wait, you wouldn't even buy them for yourself a week ago. Now you're going to. But what she said to me that day is, now I know the world needs me. I did her that night of, I need you, my children need you, my grandchildren need you, Mom, the world needs you. So a week later, she said, you're right, the world needs me. And she was off on a mission. And I'm telling you, like her organization began to explode. Mind you, she was 81, getting started on this endeavor, and you couldn't stop her. You couldn't drive 7 hours to hold a meeting. Like she was just everywhere. But here's the reality. She felt so good. She went and got a puppy, and he was like 7 months old and 52 pounds, not a lap dog like she should have gotten, a German Shepherd. And he pulled her down and broke her hip. And so now we got a hip. But you know what? She didn't let that slow her down. I'm real be honest with you. Like she saw it as a great way to get a whole new nursing staff and doctors on board. But the reality was life happens, right? So we everything kind of had to stop for a second and slow down. What I tell people is that you just, right? Because they need that encouragement to get back up because things have, just literally everything happens in people's lives. No one gets a hall pass. And so, but if you have that connection, you have that relationship, you're reminding them, they get back up and they just start rebuilding again. And so, I talk to my team consistency and how consistency wins. And so naturally, we'll talk more about that in a minute because it is a huge part of our success system. But reality is that if somebody does fall off and you can come back in and you can speak life and you can help them get on track and you can help them start to see the bigger picture and win again, chances are what I've seen is that when it does happen, Garrett, like people are less likely to fall off if something else happens, right? They find a way to forge through and keep building and have that momentum. But once again, it all goes back to reminding them of what they want in the beginning. A person's heart and their dreams. Because there's things that sometimes might really take people out of the game for a while, right? And once again, because nobody has a boss here, they could stay out and they could stay in that place. But if you are a true leader and you're loving people and you're leading people, to come alongside of them. And sometimes, what I've had to do is go deeper, like look into their organization and who can I help start to win there until they catch their breath and they can start again, right? And they don't lose it all. See, that's the biggest thing too, is I love the depths of this business because we can continue to drive that driver, something's happened and they've taken a step back. And so then they're not going, well, I'm starting from scratch either. It's a whole lot easier to start if you got something, right? So that'll help.
That's exactly right. And I love the fact, too, that this industry provides an opportunity that if you do have to take a step back, if your team is still growing and that you've got some good, leaders there, it actually gives you the ability to maybe take that step back as needed, depending on what the issue is, and be able to still know that there's going to be something coming in at the end of each week, that you've got this great team behind you that's building. It's the case depending on the team and how it's built and how early or how late you are in this building process. But I do like the idea of how do we dig into the deeper areas of our team, especially for those people who maybe have to take that step back. How do we help them and do that? So how often do you kind of audit or go through your genealogy, and what are you looking for when you do?
Well, I stay very connected. So I'm always looking. I love the new reports. So I tell people, like, if you haven't seen the new enroller team and you haven't really broke into that, you need to, because you can click on GVU a couple of times and now it's going to go from high, vice versa. You can change your legs, left, right. So
they're just always looking. I call it digging for buried treasure. So as I go through those reports, I'm always moving around the metrics there so that I can actually see where volume's coming from, going into your downline organization, looking through your rep recruiting, really being able to look through every metric of the business, right? Who's bringing people to the table? Who's, maybe one step away from reaching the next level. And so as you start looking through there, and, once again, I'm big about let's pick up the phone, right? Let's actually call people and talk, because there's no doubt that you're going to find people down there that maybe say, well, I don't know what to do. And, that to me is one of those that I'm like, we have made such an incredible system that's so duplicatable here that, we want people plugged into it, but we've got to make sure they're getting plugged in. No, the farther and the deeper people get away from the leader, the less likely they are to have the same interaction, same communication, right? And communication is key in this business. It's the reason that people succeed or don't, right? They need to know what's going on and how to stay connected. And so I just always love to reach down, look for people. A great encourager, right? If they're one person away from reaching the manager level, it's, hey, is there somebody I could help you? Could we share this? But first and foremost, here's my first comment. Tell me what's happening for you with this technology. See, everybody loves to share their story. And so we want to hear their story, because so many times people are not realize how valuable or how powerful it is, right? And so I'm always saying, tell me your story. What are you seeing? And then, what are other people noticing? Because that's the reality. If they realize now that people that they love need this, they're way more apt to open up to that, right? And so I just say, look for recruiting, look for, brand new people. There's a host, depending on how large your organization is and how many leaders you have actively doing that with you, would make a difference as well. Because we've got so many amazing leaders that I'm not digging necessarily into their legs. I know they're doing it, right? So when you recognize that you have leaders that duplicate those successful things, then you can step away and help the next set. And that's really it gets fun, is whenever you start to really see everyone's winning because the duplication process is in place.
Yeah, I love that. And I love also the fact that you keep saying this idea of you got to pick up, because the reality, you can reach out on social media or by text or by other things. But what I find is it's not until you build that relationship, which of course this is all about relationship, that we start to build that trust, where they're going to say, hey, okay, there is a system. How do I do it? And I trust me the right advice. And also I think something key there, that even though I don't know if you've used the exact words, but it's clear that you're doing it, is listening to what they're saying and actually taking that information now and being able to use it to be able to help them help themselves, for lack of a better term, so I love that let's maybe use a few scenarios, taking a look at kind of, when let's say you have a new brand partner that you found, they're starting to do some stuff, you can see that they're clearly doing something that's making a difference. How do you when you get with them, how do you help them kind of get that first quick win, or, volume quickly? Because with the new plan, especially the first few ranks in the new plan, it's all volume driven. And so it's just helping them get a few people started. It doesn't matter whether it's right or left. Of course, we want to, build that balance, but the focus is really more about volume. So how would you go about doing that?
Well, and story on what we just talked about, but let's talk about this, because this is really going to lead into it well, is when I sat down and looked at this system, we were just probably about 5 weeks in to wearing X39, having amazing results. We'd actually shared it with 6 people plus my mom. So there was 7 enrolled right at the day that I told Rick, I feel like there's a mandate on my life. I've got to figure this out. I'm going to tell the world about this. So I sat down and I logged into my back office. And the first thing that I saw is we had achieved manager. And I went, oh, wow, wait a second. And so here's the reality is I looked at Rick. I told him, I go, this is it. We've never seen anything like this. I looked at the comp plan, all the things, right? And he said, he goes, what's so significant? And I said, doesn't everybody love 4 people? We got here because we loved our friends and our mom. We didn't get here because we were trying to make a dime. So that was so significant to me. So every conversation I have, Garrett, for the past 2.5 years is I ask the question, who do you love? Who do you love right now? Because everybody's dealing with something, right? Called aging. Nobody's escaping the dormant stem cell there, right? So it's like, as you're aging and all these things are body as we get older, like everybody needs X39. So I just simply say, hey, who do you love? And I wait for them to answer me. And so it quickly allows me to get into their life, because now who's going to say, well, I love my mom, but she just told me she wanted to go to heaven and I can't help her. No, right? Like, my mom, do you think this could help? And I'm going to be like, yeah, because it helped my mom, right? And so literally it's just how fast can we get to who they love and then help them have those first conversations, because they don't know what to say. They're brand new. And so once again, I'm hey, let's get them on the phone right now. Let's explain to them. And so I help people quickly. So let's go back to real fast about picking up the phone and calling people. I tell all of my people, especially if they're really busy. Like, I had a girlfriend that worked 50, 60 hours a week. And so did the girlfriend that she shared with. And so I just told them, I said, hey, just put me in a group text. And I will help them. That way they don't feel like they're on an island while you're working 60 hours a week and can't answer the phone, right? People need help. Well, in this group text, I get this, I'm so frustrated, and rightfully so, right? She was like, I don't know. And I just said, no frustration. Can you jump on a Zoom with me at 2:00? So now I can, help her understand what she needs. I've never spoke to the woman in my life. And she said, yes. And we got on the phone and she was a little frustrated. And I said, look, I'm going to tell you right now, what I saw on day one when I sit down was the simple system that's in place. And she was like, well, I start telling her, she goes, you can stop. I could follow you to the ends of the earth. Now, she was just trying to help a friend. She wasn't even coming at this from her personal business perspective, but she was like, I need help. Like, this isn't working out. And so, that day I just began to talk to her about who do you love, because I asked her story, and their story, exceptional. And so I said, with a story like that, like, who do you love? Like, this patch could change the world around you. And she was like, yes. And we got busy. And it was, getting her to manager, then director. And, that woman now is a presidential director, almost SPD. There were 4 people in between, all worked full-time jobs, and they could not handle anything outside of that. Now, there's 2 of them are SPDs. The other one's about to be, and another presidential director, and just a thriving organization. That's why people need to hear your voice or see your eyes, on a Zoom or on a phone call, because you never know. For her friend, but turned into one amazing, incredible leader building a thriving organization. And so that can't be done via text. Via text, you just get more and more frustrated, right? Because nobody's helping you whenever you think everything's in a text message. So I've moved my whole organization on the power of, and I'm very excited about the new comp plan. In fact, you were there, Punta Mita. I've got tears in my eyes. I was like, oh my goodness. And people that have said, I'm worried about this, no, don't be worried. I would say that from anybody. Don't be worried. It's enhanced. That's the beautiful word. Worry if the company's now going to pay us 9 ways instead of 5. Like, there's nothing to worry about here. Yeah. But the reality is that by making it now volume-based, how much faster can people win? That is so exciting, because we've been helping a lot of people win by loving 4 people. And then I realized, wait, some people, just because human nature, we told them 4, right? And so I always go, now who's the next 4 you love too, right? Because we want to solidify and secure managers. And so I love that as our new compensation rolls out, it's truly going to be, who do you love? And let's get them started and move forward and not even have to so much worry about that. But it's incredible, because if you touch a person's heart, and that's what I believe more than anything X39 does, right? It changes their body, but it touches their heart. And in doing so, they want to share that with others, because it's by far the easiest thing I've ever seen to actually share. And everyone on the planet needs it. Fun.
And I can say that's something I probably hear more times than talking with our top leaders at events or other things, and that is, I can't believe how easy it is here. Now, it's not to say that people don't have those frustrations. You just talked about one experience. But I think when people understand the simple system and And I absolutely loved, I mean, I say that love, that concept of who do you love? Because that really does come back. We all have people we love, and why wouldn't we want to help them see it? Now, not everyone we love is going to want to actually have anything to do with it, and unfortunately, that can happen too. But I love that concept of who do you love and bless today, with these amazing technologies, amazing product that is literally changing lives. So you also talked about there how helping your team kind of hitting those new ranks and moving up the ranks in that. So when you see someone who's kind of getting really close to maybe that new a volume goal or something that's going to help push them to that next level, what are some things that you use to help them kind of push across the finish line?
Well, I think the more people you help build, the faster you build. I mean, that's just the reality. And so that's the other thing that I've said from day one is that we themselves as the ones who want to build a business, because there's a lot of people who want to wear it and share it, right? And we have to know the difference. There's people who love and they want to get here and they want to make a little bit of money. They want to share it with a few people, but then that's really it. They don't want to show up for Zooms. They don't want to continually move forward. But when you find people that do, here's the thing, as a builder, I feel like I'm completely in control of helping those people get to manager, get to director, get to senior. And that was on another thing that was just mind blowing to me was that senior director was like literally the structural foundation of this whole compensation plan. Because I'm like, well, if I loves 4 people, I can surely get a few more, right? Like, and so me being the driver, I never just stop with the person I enrolled, asking them who do they love. So when they put me on the phone with their mom, well, then I'm naturally going to ask her, so who do you love? Like, let's get mom to manager. Like, so that's just been we just get people to manager over and over and over, really drive that momentum. And so sometimes it's just a matter of reminding them, hey, here's the beauty of it. When someone is close to the next level, oftentimes they might think, well, it doesn't matter if I hit it. It doesn't matter, someday is not a day of the week and it doesn't happen. And so I will define a date and then I'm going to say, okay, who are we talking to? Like, who can we help? If you're one person away on that second level manager, like who are we going to jump in there and talk to and help? Because we got 4 people out of that one that we could help solidify that through at the very least, right? And so whenever you really start to think about just helping and how you do that, it goes back to we're the ones that pick up the phone. We're the ones that do the reaching out. We're the ones that keep digging, right? We're the ones who take that responsibility for the business. And so whenever you can help people, the beauty of this is, as I tell people, when you win as a leader, you raise the lid for beneath you to rise up. And that is so key because sometimes people are like, well, I just don't have, a whole lot of people business oriented. Watch what happens when you hit the next level. Right? All of a sudden, somebody else down there raises their hand because now there's hope and there's belief. And so I'm always who's close to the next level and what's it going to take? And hey, I'm here. Let's jump in. Let's make some phone calls. Let's help some people win. Let's share the love with others because I'm just telling you, I watch it over and over and over. As soon as one person breaks that barrier, the others start to just show up. Right? And they're like, well, I didn't. And I'm like, well, we probably didn't ask the right questions, right? Or you had planted a seed. Sometimes we do ask the right questions and they might not be ready, but right, everything doesn't sprout the day you put it in the ground. And so now because you went to another level, you've given them a belief that they can too do this. And so next level is always important. In fact, I even have a group, next level, and it's the key leaders I'm working with that are not at usually executive or higher. Those are those people, and there's accountability in there. They share wins. Like it's things that's going to help them get to the next level. So that's always changing. And so it's pretty cool because when one person wins in the group, others are going to win too, even if they're not in their organization. And it's a beautiful accountability that you can do with people.
I love that. And, and I think that is when you start to see that, the term, the rising tide lifts all ships. But when you start to see that growth, it does foster that throughout, other teams and certainly deeper down in the organization as well when people see what's happening. And so I love that concept. So when you're taking a step back now, looking at your own organization, this is your team here. your weekly planning look like to ensure that you continually see that growth? It's sometimes possible that we have a promotion or incentive or things that are going on that can kind of build up this kind of excitement and hype. But how do you do that and what does your plan look like on those weeks or those months that maybe there isn't a whole lot going on to continue to see that growth on your team?
Well, I talk a lot about see the end from the beginning, right? So what is it that you're going after? And then let's break it down. So if a person tells me that they're going to hit SPD and they've set their date, well, then we're going to break that all the way back down to what does it look like in the month? What does it look like every week? And what does it look like every day? Came on board here, the biggest thing that I saw was a duplicatable system. And, we had been highly successful in direct sales. And so, but I remember thinking, like, here's what I tell people all the time. People that know me know I am going to study. I'm going to learn all that I need to learn, but repeat that. I don't have to regurgitate that. I am not David Schmidt, right? And so, but do I listen to him a lot? Do I learn from him? You better believe it, right? That builds my belief, my faith, my confidence, so that when I speak with confidence and boldness and absolute belief, right? So it changes the message, the way people. But reality is I don't say a lot. I trust our system and I get people to watch the video so they see what this science and technology looks like. I just tell people, like that, the what is X39 and what is phototherapy? Those are our two go-to videos that I have everybody watch, because in 3 minutes, take me an hour to try to explain it and they still wouldn't understand it, right? And so I love the simplicity of the system that we can share that. And for me, I personally, when we got started, I just said, I'm going to talk to at least 3 new people every day. I'm going to follow up with 3 people every day. And I'm going to invite all 6 of them to see for them and to hear testimonies every day. And that was my daily method. I don't care where I was at in the world. I don't care if I'm on vacation. I don't care if I'm in another country. That is still what I do. And so I tell people, now there's days you'll talk to more, right? In fact, most days, if you want to build this big, you'll talk to more. But no matter what, you'll free. And so our team has duplicated that as well. Many of them, and I just tell people, it might be 1 for you. It might be 2, it might be 3, whatever it is, but that's your no matter what number, right? And then everything else above that is going to help you accelerate and advance faster. And so whenever we break down our goals and we've got, no matter what, we're exposing people, because here's the thing is that it creates momentum. And you can't do this when it's convenient. You can't do this when it's comfortable. You can't do this when everything lines and the stars are all perfect, right? Because people are like, well, I just didn't have a chance to interject it. Well, that person's going to walk away from you. You got 1 shot. And so you just can't be afraid to say, I have something that could benefit you or I could help you. And, be able to share your 30-second story and then get their connection and point them to the right direction. Because I have found that when you let the system do the work for you, the system duplicates for you as well. Love the fact that no matter where I'm at in the world, I can share our system, but no matter where I'm at in the world, my team can too. See, they're duplicating it. They're not attached to me 100% of the time. And that's really where you start to win. And so when we got here and we saw that was the biggest thing that we have taught from day one. It's consistent. Consistency above all else is going to be what creates that momentum and what sustains it and what drives your business to the depths that it has. And so that's just really, I tell people all day long, I could tell you 1,000 things to do, but if I could teach you, stay true to how many new people every day to X39, how many people will you follow up and how many will you invite? And, I'm not saying our numbers are golden, but 336 seems to really be winning over here, right? And so, but, and it, like I said, there's some days it'll be more, but I know too, when you listen, see, I told my kids this when they were little, everyone is a stranger until you say hello. And behind that smile might be your best friend for life, right? You just never know. And so whenever I'm going places, I'm always listening. So I just got an email from a lady that 2 weeks ago, I was on my way back from Utah. We were in a delay to get our luggage for lightning strikes. And so we sat there for about 2 hours. We weren't going anywhere, Garrett. So you know what? I'm just getting to know this family. They're beautiful. They have a newborn baby. We're talking. And the grandmother's just flown in to take care of it. Like we're all sitting there together. And then she said, knee stuff going on. And so before we left, I said, whenever you were talking about your knee, I know that I could help you. And I said, have you heard of this? And she said, no. And so we exchanged information. And night before last, she said, I'm ready. Because guess what? What they did didn't help. And I can't help but think of what you said. And so, it was just in our last maybe 2-minute interaction, I can help you. We were sitting there for 2 hours, right? So whenever the time's right, you don't go, golly, I wish I would have said something to her. I looked for a moment. No, people will always give you the open door to talk to them. And so, that's why I tell people 3 people a day. Even if you're at home, you could look on social media. You could go 1,000 different directions, but I've yet to completely knock off my warm market list that I started with that was about 300 people 2.5 years ago. Because we multiply here, we don't add, right? One person comes in that you're helping and talking to with them, and so you're never going to run out of people for you to personally talk to. That's a given. So if somebody tells me, I've talked to everybody I know, I can't do this, I'm like, well, I'm going to help you make friends. You know a lot more people if you've already talked to them, because I haven't been able to, and I could probably do this 24 hours. Who needs to sleep, right? That's how fired up I am about this technology. So
I love that. That the system, keeping it simple, following the system, doesn't matter how much knowledge you have, you still keep it simple and keep it to the system. But I think the most important thing you just said there was the consistency, doing it not giving up on a day, that even if you're on vacation or other things that are going on, taking that opportunity. We flew a lot of leaders out to Utah, and I can tell you, between the hotel staff and other people that we ran into, we saw a lot of people who had been patched over that week with all the leaders we had there. Because of that, you're the ones that are staying consistent, talking day, and that does make the biggest difference in either determining someone's ability to succeed or not. And I don't think you can actually create enough momentum to make a difference if you don't have the consistency. I think Darren Hardy calls it the compound effect. It's just this, because I do this every time, we may not see the results immediately, but over time we start to see this incredible growth. And that's when we go into that full momentum, and it's exciting to see. And we certainly have been experiencing that here at LifeWave. And that's why the rest of the industry is wanting to know, what is it that you guys are doing? What is it that's so unique about LifeWave that a lot of other people are struggling? And I really believe it's because we stick to the system and we've stayed consistent. A lot of companies with COVID changed what they were doing, and we stayed consistent. And then we had some amazing leaders come in that stayed consistent, had the system, and they kept. And I believe that's why we're successful and others aren't, is because they stopped doing the things that got them successful to begin with. They didn't stay consistent with them. And if they would just go back to some of those things, I think maybe they could turn things around, but they're too focused on the next shiniest thing, that might, help build the business. But the reality is that consistency. So now I want to shift a little bit and talk a little bit more about compensation 2.0, as we've been calling it. I love that you call it enhancements, because that really is what it's designed to be, is an enhancement to the current plan. It's additional ways so that people can, but also people can get paid in ways of just going out and doing the natural things that they would do in building a business. So how has using the new compensation 2.0, or how have you been using it, I should say, to create kind of urgency and show people what is actually possible out?
Well, so I'm a firm believer, until it arrives, it's business as usual.
Like that.
So we don't really talk a lot about it. Now, we've talked about it with our leaders, of course. Super Saturday was amazing. Best event I think I've ever seen. I loved just everything start to finish and how it was integrated and filled everything about it. It was amazing because people really were able to absorb it. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that, as we talk about it, I just tell people it's business as usual, right? For the time being, we still have a right leg and a left leg, and we're still continuing to bring people in and do the same thing. But just know, as people move forward, I just keep telling them, like, listen, guys, it's only getting better, right? That's my biggest thing, is it's only going to get better. But right now is where you move, and you move with speed, because the bigger the foundation you have moving into 2.0, the better, the pay out about it. And so I think that's a really key thing too. And, we've taught our team from the very beginning. I called Steve Merritt on day one. I was like, hey, I have been wildly successful, but I've never seen a binary. Like, what do I do? Right. Mm-hmm. And he explained to us 20 right, 20 left, you go back and forth on both sides, you build directors. And so, I just tell people, like, if you're doing it the way we've been doing it for 2.5 years, you're golden, right? And so just keep doing what you're doing. But I think right now, what I'm telling people is there is a sense of urgency that you are exposing more and more people for numerous things, because fired up, like I said, I thought we were doing pretty great earning 5 ways. So if you're going to add in 4 more, like, let's go. But the other thing too is knowing, like, what's coming. Right. So the foundation right now that we've been building with X39 has been incredible. Now we add Celergize, add the water machine, right? Like, so when I think about the momentum, what we've seen, and I know the increase has been astronomical over the last few years, and our growth, like you said, everybody's going, what are y'all doing? Being the fastest growing company. But I feel like we've just, like, we're taking off. Like, we've looked at it as we were out there soaring, but launches now. Right. And so that's why I tell people, like, I want to be way ahead before the documentary, before all the things that are right there on the verge of coming out this year. That's just exciting to me. And so I tell people, like, I knew when I sat down and looked at this compensation plan, I had never seen anything like it. And we were going to do in it, and we've exceeded our wildest imaginations. And so now to see that what's coming, that next level, blows my mind. I love helping people win in life. That's my biggest thing. Is I tell people, the more people, here's my thing, is how do you build a business? Help others win. See, that's the biggest thing you can do. And so if we can help people win faster, and faster means more money, right? That's the reality. That's why I love helping people, even from the beginning, with my concept of who do you love? See, because I didn't do it from a place of business in the beginning, but I loved people and I shared a good thing with them. And my started asking questions, which caused me to say, I've got to look at this, right? And so when I did, though, and I realized it was through that concept of who do you love, well, what's funny, Garrett, is when I call a person back and I say, hey, by the way, I just got off the phone with, and I helped him get started, and here's what you earned. Now, I remember calling a very good friend of mine who's very wildly successful in life, and I said, your new manager, and here's what you've earned. And he goes, I love more people. Right? And so that's really fun, because now it became real. It didn't happen to make some money. Hey, do you want to build a business? Like, not everybody knows that on day one, but they do know they love people, right? And so we can help people. And if nothing else, here's what I know. Every human should wear X39. And if they would wear it for free, even better, right? And so I can help people win financially. Way. And the fun thing for me was, I did a little presentation for a group, and it was a lady in a senior living facility. And she said, I was told I could invite people, and she did. And she goes, I just want free patches. And I laughed, because I go, well, it's a little different here. We'll give you money, and if you want patches, you can get. Well, Garrett, I helped her get to manager. I helped her earn $900. She kept introducing me to people. And through that process, you know what she told me on the 3rd time we did an event was, she said, I've been so concerned and so stressed out, and it's been really taking a toll on my health. And I said, about what? And she said, oh, well, for our retirement way back then. My husband's been gone many years. I'm 90. She goes, we didn't plan for this. This place is $6,000 a month. And I just keep thinking, how much longer can I stay? And she goes, but, with the results I'm getting and the people that I love, what's happening, I realize, like, I can just keep helping people because you're helping me, and I can live here with peace of mind. That ought to fire people up to know that we have that compensation plan in our hands right now. And I think about what it's going to do when 2.0 comes out, and we can put more money in those people's pocket, because world, they're hurting. They need money, right? Inflation, nobody's job is keeping up with it. And so I'm never afraid to talk about the fact that we have an incredible opportunity here, as well as incredible technology. And whenever you've got something no one else has and they can't get it anywhere else, well, kind of gives you a hand up, right? And so it's just fun in hand. And I think that, the more stronger we are with our message and the more we help people get that money right up front when it comes out, the bigger it's going to get. I mean, I feel like I said, we're just taking off. And now to know that there's going to even be that extra push in the beginning, it's going to be incredible. I'm so.
Yeah. Well, and I love that, and I think that is exactly right. When yes, it's coming. Let's focus on what we currently have, rather than being too focused on what's coming, other than making sure we understand it. So when it does launch, we're ready to go. But what I also like is it's human nature to want down, figure things out, and that. But something you said that I think is really key is I'm teaching them to speed up, and I think that is really going to be key, because it's those people who actually don't slow down and follow what human nature teaches them, that to just say, let's go against that and let's speed up in this process are so much better off than those who maybe sit around and think, okay, once I understand, then I'll teach my team and then we'll figure it out and we'll get moving along. No, you can't do that. You don't want to miss the opportunity, because following shortly behind that's going to be, we just launched Cellergize, right? So we have the water machines coming in the near future. And so it's just all these things that are happening. It's not time to slow down by any stretch of the imagination. It's time to speed up. So I love that you kind of brought that into it, because I think that is absolutely important for everyone to hear, as we're coming into this new transition up step of LifeWave, because I agree with you. We've seen some incredible growth, but I don't think we've seen that real big momentum that's really possible. We're certainly in momentum, but I think we can actually scale that up even more so. And I think we're going to see that, over the next, 10 years. Just incredible, exciting times ahead for sure.
Yes.
Well, we're kind of coming up towards kind of the top of the hour, but I want to just maybe ask you one last question. And I think this is something that I think is important, but what is your vision of how your team and your growth is going to look like over the next 12 months? Where do you see it going, and what's your vision for the future?
Man, okay, so I don't know how we're going to rate all this whenever we have the change of names with the new comp plan, but our vision has been that walking into Global in October with 25 SPD since last Global. And, they're coming. It's the traction's there, and it's exciting because once again, when you have a vision for your team and people can run in it, people can say, hey, I want to be one of those. And so I think it's really important to have that. And, I'm sitting here going, okay, for the next year, I know what's coming and I know how incredible that's going to be. And so, the more I sit back and look, I always think, man, did I set my goals too low when I said 25? Did I set my goals too low whenever I talked about what income I wanted to earn? But the truth is that, what I see is, like you said, we haven't do it yet. People are winning bigger than they've ever won in life. And it's exciting because whenever you think about how many people in this world are hurting, and how many need everything that we have. They need the technology, they need the income, they need the community, they need it all, right? And so we're not talking to enough people and we're not talking fast enough. So there is no slowing down for our organization. But I love, as I think about a year out, like I said, my focus right now is October. Like, we're crossing that line and I know we'll do it. And that's exciting because we've been speaking that people are running in it and they're building and they're increasing and they're just helping people win. And so it would be hard. It would really be hard to fathom a year down the road with all that we have coming this year. Because I'm a big visionary. It's like, show me where the end's at and what does it take to get there? Because I'm doing like every way I can to win, but that because I want to help the other people. As I think about the elite trip, I'm like, okay, how many people will be on that next trip with us? And so, my goal is that by the time the next elite trip comes around, 10 of them on the trip. Like, it's just the little things that, as you start to really go, okay, I see the end for so many people. And because we speak that vision over our team,
because we remind them all the time of who they are, that they're fearless, they're unshakable, right? We have the world's message of hope, and we're going to go out. It's just, man, I don't even know if I could put a number on the vision I see for winning, because I'm like, would it be too small if I said 50 more?
Yeah.
CDs, like, and the volume that's going to come, like, that's hard to fathom too. I just, yeah, it's incredible.
Well, and that just goes to show that you're certainly something that is going to help drive. And I love how it's hard for you to kind of think past conference, because your focus and your goal to hit that 25 is so ingrained in what you're trying to achieve that it's hard to almost look past it. And I love that, that it's like, we are going to do this. And then it's the idea of it too, where you're like, I'm not sure if I maybe set that goal too low, but what an exciting time. And to be able to see that and to certainly, you wanted to say something?
I do, because what's funny is my goal, so just so you know this, was 25 SPDs at the end of the year 3. And here's the thing, is I looked at Diane after we were sitting at Global. Jack Canfield finished his message and said, where will you be at October 19th, 2025 at 5 p.m.? Right now, say it out loud. And I looked at Diane and I go, I was wrong. By October the 19th, 2025, 5 p.m., I'll have 25 SPDs. I'm like, this all came out of me. And it was, what I saw in the future, all of a sudden it was, no, it's the now. And so being so on track for that, just to see that I shot too low, right? That's why I'm like, now you're going to get me to thinking, and I'm going to come back to you with the answer. So be ready.
Love that. I love that. So much for being on. And I hope everyone has taken some amazing notes, because there has been so much good information that has been shared. So many little golden nuggets, that you shared, that digging for treasure, within your organization. There certainly is a treasure trove of information here. So hopefully you've taken an opportunity down and take those notes and just, and maybe come back and rewatch this, because I think there's so much good information here for everyone to be able to do so. But before we go, Kerri, is there any last thoughts you'd like to add just before we say goodbye to everyone?
Yes, I would say this. Remind yourself on a daily basis what is your ultimate dream, and don't be afraid to dream. I tell people all the time, create a dream board, create a vision board. It's okay to want things in life. It's never okay for things to have you, right? So we want you to be mindful and go to work, because this is the vehicle that can truly make dreams come true. But there's the adversary and people. Garrett said it earlier, not everybody we love is going to come along beside you. And don't let one or two people take away your hopes and dreams, because at the end of the day, this is the greatest vehicle, I believe, that could ever be in your path for you to be able to make your dreams come true. And I believe when we do that, then we are absolutely doing what we were called to do when we were put on earth. And that is, fulfill the assignment that we each and every one have, that people are attached to. And so I love being able to help people make their dreams come true. See, I want to know the 2 whys that I ask everybody is, what hurts you? If you haven't already, like, what is it that you don't want to ever have to repeat again? Because we all have those moments. That's what drove me into this industry at a young age. The other is, what's hiding in you? What is that dream in your heart? And then don't let anybody stop you, because you can make those dreams come true here. We are living proof of it. Well, all the time. We're not special. We're not, honestly. We just get up every single day with a heart to serve others, and we open our mouth and we're obedient to, if somebody's standing in front of us, they're going to learn about this. This is just what's going to happen. And so, but because of that, we have impacted so many people never even knew when we said hello to Lightwave. So that same thing is there for you. So make sure that, 2.5, 3 years from now, you're here making your dreams come true, and you've impacted so many other people's lives, because that's something you got to protect at all costs and work towards every day. And it can be that. So thank you, Garrett, for allowing me to share today.
Well, thank you. And it's been an absolute pleasure being able to spend this last hour with you. I will say this, you have been an incredible blessing to your team, the people that you worked with, and that huge organization that you're building. You've been a blessing to everyone on our call today, and blessing going forward to many, many more thousands, if not millions of people, because of what you're doing and the impact that you're having. So thank you for everything you've done. And of course, spending that time with us as well.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you everyone else who's